Whenever you take a chemistry test, you'll likely be given the magic formula spreadsheet.
You don't need to memorize them, but you do need to know how they work.
So we're here to show you all you need to know about the stoichiometry calculation in 3.5 minutes.
Just don't expect us to teach you how to spell it correctly.
Stoichiometry. This unpronounceable, unspellable word is all about calculating and balancing the molar quantities in formulas.
Remember, chemistry isn't baking. If you mess up the balance of chocolate chips and raisins in your cookie dough, worst case scenario, you make the world's most disappointing cookie.
But mess up the balance of atoms in two chemicals you're mixing together and...
Well, either way, you're not getting invited back to the potluck. But hey, let's learn how to pass this chemistry test in the meantime.
Stoichiometry is used to find out how many moles are in a thing.
Think of it like this. If I ordered 3 dozen bagels for the class, it's pretty easy to know how many bagels I have, because a dozen is just a name given to a certain number of things.
3 dozen bagels means 3 times 12, 36 bagels. Easy.
If we had to do it backwards, that would be simple too. If we had 120 bagels and wanted to find out how many dozens we had, we'd set it up like this. 120 bagels divided by how many bagels are in a dozen would equal the number of dozens we have.
And since there are 12 bagels in a dozen, we know that 120 bagels means we have 10 dozen, which is way too many bagels. But we're not here to judge, we're here to stoichiometry.
Let's get to the formula. Number of moles is equal to the mass divided by the gram formula mass.
Basically, we're looking for how many atoms we have. But we're not going to sit here and count all of the atoms in a substance. That would take forever.
But we do know that each element has a mass. So if we calculate the entire mass of our sample and divide that mass by the mass of 1 mole of the sample, we'll know how many moles are in the whole thing.
But how do we know what this bottom number is? What is the weight of a mole? Well, that depends on the elements in the sample, and it'll be different depending on what we're measuring. That's right, it's a math problem hidden in a math problem.
Just think of it as a little mini game inside this equation. And luckily, the gram formula mass is simple. Every element has a mass. So you just add up all of the elements in your substance and you've got your number.
Take the diatomic element oxygen, for example. O2. That means that this substance is made up of 2 atoms of oxygen. Head to the periodic table, and it will have the mass there waiting for you.
Here's oxygen, atomic number 8, atomic mass 15.999 grams per mole. And since our substance has 2 atoms of oxygen, we're going to multiply that by 2, which means our substance has a gram formula mass of 31.998 grams per mole.
Then we exit our minigame and return to our equation. Now it's all about plugging in what we know and solving for what we don't. If we know the total mass of our sample was 92 grams, then we could solve this and find we have 2.876 moles.
Pay attention to how these units cancel out as well. Grams on top divided by grams per mole on the bottom.
And if we instead knew that there were 5 moles of the substance, we could solve for the total mass. 5 moles multiplied by 31.998 grams per mole would give us a total mass of 159.99 grams. Once again, watch out how these units cancel out to leave us with grams.
And that's stoichiometry, a very simple formula with a bonus mini math game hidden inside it.